Heaven sounds like hell. Have you ever given the concept of heaven any thought? The concept of heaven, uninspected, seems reasonable enough. Heaven is the place where the good ones among us go when we cease to exist in this world. It's a place conceptualized as the end of unhappiness, and the fulfillment of that which makes us feel good, or makes us happy, or gives us pleasure. Heaven is usually defined as the place that fulfills the promise of continued existence in an idealized setting after death. An entry is granted provided your behavior has been acceptable here and you followed relevant religious rules. It's a standard issue concept fed to adherents of several religions because it is a powerful recruitment tool and powerful inoculation against thought critical of the institution. But that's not what this essay is about. Instead, I want to examine the concept of heaven itself. It sounds really nice, but is it really? Let's run some thought experiments. Heaven is supposed to be an idealized version of this world somehow. The conception of heaven is one of a place where everything is better to such a degree that somehow any less than ideal feeling is not felt, or is at least transmuted into ideal feeling. But what does that mean? Will everything taste better? Will your happiness be 10 times louder and your sadness gone? Will tasks once banal tasks so many hate, like taking the trash out or doing your taxes, suddenly feel amazing? But being a person who hates taking out the trash as part of your identity is not. If being in heaven requires feeling or not feeling certain things, does that mean that you'll still feel like you in heaven? If your less than glorious emotions are barred from entering, are you unable to feel anything but happy feelings in heaven? If you generally like being grumpy, but you're a good person, can you opt out of heaven or be allowed an exemption? I have so many questions. In fact, I'm wary. Too good to be true with no problems ever? Scam, smiling happy people from New York, Boston, and Chicago loving each other's baseball teams? Fake news. Scary too. Sounds like you can only think in certain ways in heaven, or else you are not welcome there because heaven is heaven and it's gotta be perfect. Does that mean that everybody has to like the same things and be happy and feel good all the time while in heaven? Are there conflicts in heaven? Do things that satiate us here keep feeling ecstatic in heaven? If you just keep eating ice cream forever in heaven, will it just keep feeling amazing? Are you disallowed to feel bad? Or just asked not to feel certain feelings in heaven? Is it voluntary? What does that demand for your identity? After all, much of what we believe ourselves to be in this world stems from the experiences we've had that are less than happy. Does heaven require us not to be ourselves and require us to relinquish these parts of ourselves? Is this all related somehow to the common requirement of having to be good in order to gain entry? What is good? And who is going? Clearly, after any measure of consideration, the actualization of the popular conception of heaven is not only full of basic logical inconsistencies, but just doesn't really seem like heaven to most people, as many recoil at the thought of having to modify themselves all the way down to thought as a requirement of gaining entry to anywhere. So if heaven isn't heaven, does heaven exist? If so, what is it? Where is it? How do we get there? And who are we there? The following essays attempt to inform on the subject and at the very least, entertain.